You want to learn something fast, a language, a musical instrument, a new software for your job, a subject for an upcoming exam. You sit down to study, you open the book, you watch the tutorial, you take notes, and weeks later you realize you have barely made progress. You're putting in the hours, but the results are not matching the effort. Here's why. Subscribe if you want to understand the machinery behind your own mind, because knowing how the machine works is useless if you never pull the lever. Most people learn backwards. They try to learn everything. They start at page 1 and read to the end. They study the exceptions before they understand the rules. They memorize details that do not matter while ignoring the core principles that actually produce results. They confuse effort with progress, and they burn out because the mountain feels too high. But there is a better way, a faster way, a way that works with your brain instead of against it, and it is based on 3 simple principles. If this resonates, hit subscribe, not because you need another channel in your feed, but because you need a reminder that learning fast is not about working harder, it's about working on the right thing. Principle 1, the Pareto Principle, the 80-20 rule. It states that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In learning, this means that 80% of what you need to know comes from 20% of the material. But most people spend their time on the 80% that does not matter. They study the rare exceptions, the edge cases, the historical background, the theoretical foundations, while ignoring the core principles that every expert agrees on. So how do you find the 20%? Ask yourself 3 questions. What are the most commonly used words, concepts, or actions in this skill? What do experts in this field agree is essential? What would someone need to know to be functional, not perfect? For a language, the 20% is the 100 most common words. They make up 50% of everyday conversation. For a guitar, the 20% is the 4 most common chords. Thousands of songs use only these chords. For a subject like physics, the 20% is Newton's 3 laws. Everything else builds on them. Find the leverage points. Study those first. Master those before anything else. Principle 2, active recall. Your brain doesn't learn by reading. It doesn't learn by watching. It doesn't learn by listening. It learns by retrieving. Every time you force yourself to remember something, you strengthen the neural pathway. Every time you look up the answer without trying first, you weaken it. This is the most well-established finding in cognitive psychology. Retrieval is the engine of learning. So stop reading the same chapter over and over. Stop watching tutorials on repeat. Close the book. Turn off the video. Ask yourself, what did I just learn? Write it down. Explain it out loud. Teach it to someone who doesn't know it. The struggle to remember is not a sign that you are failing. It is the sign that you are learning. The harder the retrieval, the stronger the memory. Principle 3, spaced repetition. Your brain is designed to forget. Forgetting is not a flaw, it's a feature. It clears out information that seems unimportant. The only way to convince your brain that something matters is to revisit it before it fades. This is called spaced repetition. You review information at increasing intervals. 1 day, then 3 days, then a week, then a month. Each time you review, the memory gets stronger. Each time the interval gets longer. You don't need fancy software to do this. A simple notebook works. Write down what you learned today. Review it tomorrow. Review it again in 3 days. Review it again in a week. That's it. That simple habit will triple your retention. Here's what happens when you combine these 3 principles. First, you identify the 20%. You strip away the noise. You focus only on what matters. Second, you use active recall. You test yourself constantly. You don't just consume information, you generate it. Third, you space your reviews. You revisit the material before you forget it. You build a foundation that doesn't crumble. You stop feeling overwhelmed. The mountain shrinks because you're no longer trying to climb every rock. You only climb the path. You stop wasting hours on material that doesn't matter. You put your energy where it produces results. You stop forgetting what you learned last week. The information sticks because your brain has been convinced it's important. You don't need to know everything. You need to know what matters. Find the 20%, master it through active recall, lock it in with spaced repetition. That's how you learn anything fast. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, subscribe. Every week, we explore not just how the mind works, but how to make it work for you. Not the slow way, the smart way. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.